have 10 minutes. So I'm gonna set a timer on my watch. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's Your Speech Mommy. And I'm coming on here today with some SLP interview tips. I have a job interview in about 15 minutes, and I thought that this would be a great opportunity to share some interview tips with you guys. These tips are specific to medical SLPs. I work in skilled nursing facilities, and even though we're not in the hospital, we're still considered as medical SLPs. So let's just jump right into these interview tips. So my first tip would be to be prompt when scheduling. If you're emailing with a recruiter or with a director, normally when you're setting up an interview, you're speaking with a recruiter. So when they're emailing you, give a prompt response. Don't wait a couple of days. They normally give thanks when you email them back right away. So be prompt with your emailing. When you're emailing with the recruiter or whoever, make sure you mention that you're looking forward to the interview or looking forward to whatever is about to take place. So reiterate your interest with whoever you're scheduling your interview with. The second tip is also for scheduling. It's to know your availability. So with a prompt response, they're going to probably ask you, when are you available? And if you're interviewing or applying to jobs, you should already know when you're available for an interview, because 10 times out of 10, they're going to ask you what works good for you. So know your availability and have like a day and time in mind already. Tip number 3, when it comes to the interview, you want to look professional, sound professional, and smell professional. Yes, smell professional. You don't want to be loud perfume, loud anything. No loud. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, look professional, sound professional, smell professional, period. Professionalism. First impressions matter. So look clean, smell clean, and present yourself in a professional manner. My next tip is to be prepared to answer questions. Of course, it's an interview, so be prepared to ask questions about your experience, if you are experienced in the medical field. If you're experienced in like different types of documentation software, you want to mention that. If you are certified in Vital STEM or any other certifications, or maybe you just have a lot of experience with dementia or with traits or ABCDE. Yeah, be prepared to answer questions about your experience. Also be prepared to answer questions about your goals. If it's a full-time job, they probably are looking for longevity. So if you're also looking for longevity, that would be a goal that I would mention. I'm not really looking for longevity with these jobs. I'm PRN and part-time. So, you know, my questions or my goals are kind of different. Usually, lately, I don't get questions about my goals because I'm not applying for full-time jobs. So that's kind of for a full-time job. If you have your own goals, they may ask about them. And it wouldn't hurt to mention them as well if they don't ask you. So don't only be prepared to answer questions, but be prepared to ask questions too. I noticed with a lot of my interviews, I do a lot of the question asking, honestly, versus them asking me questions. I want to know what software they use for documentation. I want to know their census, their average census in the building. I want to know how many beds are in the building. I like to know how many dining rooms there are, what type of programs they have, whether they have a restorative nursing program or any kind of feeding programs. So have some questions ready that you want answered, because they're going to ask you, do you have any questions? So make sure you have some. A few other questions that I always have is if they're going to ask me to commute to other buildings, what my productivity expectation is, what their expectations of me are. I want to know if the disciplines work together, PT, OT, and ST. I've been to one building. I've only been to one or two buildings like this where PT and OT have separate gyms, like separate workplaces. And I think that's kind of weird. I think PT and OT should work like together in the same gym. But I do want to know what's the setup, what is the dynamic between the PT, OT, and ST. PT is physical therapy, OT occupational therapy, ST speech therapy. I also ask about like if they have computers, can I access the laptop throughout the building? I like to do point of service documentation, which requires me to take the laptop around the building because I don't bring my patients in the gym typically, so I do ask about that. And whatever other question comes to mind. Usually I have a tour of the building on my interview, and if I get to meet the manager of the dietary staff of the kitchen, I usually ask about their purees, their mechanical softs, and like thickened liquids and things like that. I have a lot of questions for the kitchen if I ever get to meet them. We work closely with dietary as speech therapists. So yeah, those are just some little tips that I have for interviews. Be prepared to answer questions. Be prepared to ask questions. Look professional. Be on time. Be prompt when you're scheduling your interview. And that's about it for now. So good luck if you're interviewing. I pray God's will in your career. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time.